Så hans karriär startade redan som 8-åring. Då han höll magiska dockshower för sin familj. Han har medverkat till filmer som Mupparna, Jurassic Park, Star Wars med mera. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Mike Quinn.
Okay, check. Thank you. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're from.
Welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I must ask, how did it feel when you were given the opportunity to reprise the role of Nien Nunb in, 30 years later?
Yes, I was so disappointed. I thought, you're going to make me do this again? Really? Do I have to work on this Star Wars film? Really? You're going to make me do this? You know, I was so angry at them. Yeah, but I had to accept, of course. But seriously, yeah, it was a very surreal thing to be back, and it was a lovely surprise, I think, and a gift to return to this world that I grew up with as a fan as well, from Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. So to return all these years later was a surprise. Who knew we were going to come back and do this? Yeah, none of us knew that, really. We always kind of hoped that we could come back and return to these characters, but when it finally happened, it was kind of hard to believe. It took a while for it to sink in, as you could imagine, you know.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Nien Nunb and Star Wars, for most of the audience here, you're known as Nien Nunb from Star Wars.
Yes.
But you have done so much more than that. I mean, you're an actor, as we know. You have both on film and on stage. You are a puppeteer, you are an animator, you do voiceovers. I mean, what do you prefer doing?
What do I prefer doing? Shows like this, meeting people. Second to that,
yeah. Come on, that's worth no applause, isn't it?
You know, one thing, this is real. This is where we get feedback for real. This is where we know, what we're doing, does it matter? Do people remember? What do people like? What do they not like? You know, this is where I get feedback that generally people prefer puppets and rubber puppets to animation, to CG. If you're going to see an animated film, like say at Pixar or something, you know what you're going to get. It's a completely CG world. But with these films, everything is completely real. So I think my first love was working for Jim Henson for Muppets back in 1980. Jim gave me my first job ever. And so I just finished doing a series of the new Muppet series for Disney. We wrapped about a month ago. And it was weird because I'd gone full circle to my very first thing, which was helping Jim Henson with Kermit the Frog's limbs and doing Fozzie Bear's right hand or doubling up for other Muppets and things like that. So I think I'm kind of hardwired for that. So going back to that was really full circle, and it's all real. It's all in camera. If you make a mistake, sometimes they keep those mistakes, or you do an outtake, or you come up with a funny line. They'll sometimes keep that, and it's real time. So I suppose classic Muppets is my first love. If that answers the question.
Indeed, it does. And talking about Muppet puppeteer, I know that you worked with Jim Henson at the age of 14, but 6 years earlier you began your puppeteer career back home before performing magical acts for your family.
Well, actually, yes. It was actually a show that I would do in the parks for real people, yeah, and once in a while I'd get paid. I was about 8 years old, I think. I'd have a magic act and a puppet show, little glove puppets. I want to see, is this a trapdoor? Can I hide down that hole and work puppets through it? I can stick my arm through there and work a puppet. So at about 8 years old I was performing, in fact.
Can you please tell us about the show? What were they? What did you do?
Well, let's see. The magic tricks I had, they were sort of production boxes and things. They were way too big. The props were way too big for me. I had a hard time handling those. So I was a lot more comfortable hiding behind a puppet and behind a stage. And I wrote a little script, and all I really cared about was that at the end, the puppets would hit each other in the faces with custard pies. I thought that was a good finish, and it still is to this day. So you can't beat a good bit of slapstick. So that's what happened in that show, and that was it really.
Cool. And of course, I'm a bit curious. How was it to work with Jim Henson? I mean, I guess it was your idol when you were a kid, since you visited his shows. But when your idol wants you to work for him, how did that feel?
Yeah, that was. I was a fan, obviously. Yeah, big fan, and very nervous meeting Jim Henson for the first time and all his guys. But I used to visit the Muppet Show while they were taping the shows in the final season during 1980. They sort of took me on, I think, just as a out of sympathy. I think I've been around so long that, well, we've got to give this guy a job now. He's just here all the time, you know. But it was very easy to work with and for Jim Henson. He was a very kind, gentle soul, and the things that you kind of imagine that you hear about him, I think, are all true. Kermit was definitely an alter ego of Jim. When you watch Kermit's journey through the Muppet movie, where he leaves the swamp, Jim Henson was from Mississippi, and as Jim went through his life, he gathered talent and people, puppeteers, puppet builders, writers, designers, musicians along the way. And the Muppet movie is kind of like that journey as well, where he gathers all these Muppets along the way. And partway in the journey, he has this Kermit the Frog has this moment, and now I feel this responsibility for all these people that I brought with me. What am I going to do when the car breaks down in the desert? I don't know if you remember that scene. And I think that probably reflected some of what the responsibility that Jim Henson was feeling towards us all. So I think he carried a great weight. But he had a way of bringing out the best of everybody, everyone wanted to do their best for him, and that was a special gift that Jim had that you rarely see. I think you only see that among the creative greats. Yeah, I don't know if that answered the question or not, but...
Well, indeed it does. And we have a question from the audience. Thanks. Hi. Hello. I stumbled across the Dark Crystal way back in my youth, way before I actually understood what it was all about. And
yes,
I remembered it so vividly, the world. So, were you only doing voice, or were you also working the puppets, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm glad, first of all, that the Dark Crystal is still remembered. It was kind of a unique, one-off kind of film, but it was also a first where it was an all-creature film. It was before E.T. I think we'd seen Yoda. He was like the only rubber creature we'd seen up until that point, but that was pretty well the same people. For the Dark Crystal, we were actually shooting the Great Muppet Caper at Elstree Studios, and Jim had a 2-picture deal with Lou Grade after Muppet Show, where he could make. Lou Grade wanted him to make another Muppet film, but Jim wanted to make, the Dark Crystal, his vision. So they made a deal where I think Lou said, okay, you can make your Dark Crystal, but please make me a Great Muppet Caper. So that's how that happened. So they were kind of made back to back with the same crew. And so when I wasn't puppeteering on the Muppet Caper, I'd be at the workshop building the little podlings and slaves. There are about 50 of each. And I think I got the job on it was the Skeknar, which was the slave master Skeksis. He had a hook and a patch over his eye. I think they needed someone. I think one of the puppeteers got called back to Sesame Street, so they shifted a few of them around. Kathy Mullen, I think, was going to be a Skeksis, but she ended up being the female Kira, the Gelfling. So then I guess I was next in line. Okay, well, we're going to put you in this hideous, evil Skeksis character. So I performed him and helped with some of the other creatures. I assisted Kira as well with her arm and a few other things. Let's see. I do remember Jim Henson giggling like a crazy thing. He'd come around the corner because he was co-directing with Frank Oz, and I'd be peeking out of the costume, and then there's evil Skeksis, and then there's just little, 17-year-old me sort of grinning my face off, and he just couldn't reconcile the two. He was like, how does this even work? He thought it was the funniest thing. So, yeah, I learned around the greats. I learned so much on that film. How do you when you blink a character's eye, when you turn, how do you make a creature walk? It's different. The Muppet walk is ding 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 ding. Oh yeah, very nice, bye. It's all great stuff. But a creature has to have hips and shoulders and weight to it, and it's a whole different thing. So we went through a lot of workshops, a lot of rehearsals. For weeks and months to get to that point. So, but yes, basically I was a performer.
Yeah, talking about you as a performer, a puppeteer, an animator, and an actor, which scene or character were your biggest challenge to perform?
Ever in anything, ever?
Ever.
Biggest challenge? Challenges are good because that's how you grow. And mistakes are good because that's how you learn. So remember that. So it's okay to be challenged. It's okay to do something new. It's okay to make mistakes. I would say, I think the scariest challenge for me might have been taking on a stage role with a principal character. There was a play called Rope, which Hitchcock made into a film years later, and we did the original play in not just north of San Francisco. And I had lots and lots of monologues and lots of time on stage alone. That might have been the biggest challenge, just because I had to remember so many words. When you're a puppeteer, you just kind of make stuff up, or you take the script up next to the monitor and you get lazy and stuff. But I had to memorize 2 hours of script. So that might have been possibly... There are so many, though. There are so many. I mean, even just working on the Muppet series, every time we do a shot, we're trying to come up with something new. The last episode, we had Kermit jump out of a window. Full length. How do we do that? He was flipping a coin. Heads or tails. Yeah, all those silly little things, the challenges. There's everything is hard. It's like we're starting all over again every time. So yeah, nothing's ever easy.
Cool. I was thinking about animations. I mean, you've been working as an animator on Jurassic Park, Star Wars, Toy Story. Which scene or character have you been animating for us to know?
Oh yeah, probably the thing that I guess I'm sort of the most the happiest with, just because it's puppets that you probably don't know the most, is Woody's Roundup in Toy Story 2, which was it was all keyframed, all animated, but it was made to look as though it was 1950s. Marionettes, TV show marionettes. Even each string had to be hand animated. There was no simulations or anything like that in the computer, right? In the animation. So yeah, that's probably the most well-known bit, I would imagine.
Good. And I'm quite curious. You have a few companies over the years. I'm thinking about Ultimate Animates, Quinn Zone, Q's Animation. Can you please tell us about these ideas and how you created these companies?
Yeah, they're all connected. I had a company with in England called Quinn Zone, called Ultimate Animates, with Dave Barkley, who was Jabba the Hutt and helped with Yoda. We had that in 10 years, for 10 years in the UK, and we did our own. That was about creating our own characters, our own TV shows, where we produced and directed, so we could sort of raise the bar a little bit with what television puppets could do. And then since going to the States, to California, then I have my own umbrella company called Quinn Zone Studios. And that's really a place for me to... The Quinn Zone, let me explain what the Quinn Zone is, then you'll understand. When we would work on movies like, say, Labyrinth or whatever, sometimes when you're working in like back then, television was 4:3. We didn't have widescreen TV in the 80s. So, everything fit in that nice little square box you were always seeing. But when we made the movies, we were shooting in widescreen. So oftentimes, you'd do something at the edge of the frame, a little bit off to the side, maybe the left third or something. But when it was broadcast on television, they'd drop it, So that became known as the Quinn zone. If you were put in that part of the frame, that's the Quinn zone. And what that meant is you could goof off, you could do silly things, try and upstage, make things up, see how much attention you could get, and just do, misbehave basically. So that became the Quinn zone, and then the Quinn zone became kind of like a state of mind, a place where you could just sort of be free and create and experiment. So that's why I created Quinn Zone Studios for all my various projects, of which I have many. So that's sort of an answer.
Well, yeah, and talking about the Queen Zone, now you explain what it is. Do you have any memorable pranks that you would like to share from one of the productions? Memorable pranks? Yeah, if you've been goofing around, something that you can tell us that we never have seen.
Oh, well, let's see. Well, there's one time I don't know if any of you are familiar with Fraggle Rock, which was the Henson series. The main part was shot in Canada, in Toronto, but then we would reshoot the parts with Sprocket the dog and Gobo and Uncle Matt in the UK and in France and in Germany. Well, we were on location, Dave Barkley and I were on location in Cornwall, south of England, with Sprocket the dog, and the producers and writer were off having dinner. And we were with the actor John Gordon Sinclair, who was with Sprocket at the time. He was from what was that film he was known for? Scottish actor, anyway. And so we had time on our hands. So we thought, while the producers and writers were off having dinner and getting drunk, we'll haunt his bedroom. And John Gordon Sinclair used to be an electrician, so he rigged all the wiring. We had a room next door with an adjoining door. So we rigged the writer's hotel room to be haunted. We rigged up strings to open and close the drawers. We had a pulley system that rattled the coat hangers in the closet. The lights flickered on and off. And then we had a recording that we put under the bed that was radio control to trigger once he got in the bed with some silly ghost sounds on it stuff. And I think he came back, pretty late, and we were all giggling like children. And yeah, we haunted the room, and I think for 5 minutes, because he was very quiet. He said, "Oh, I knew it was you people back there haunting. I knew what you were doing." I don't think he did, because he came out kind of looking a little bit pale at the end of it. And we got it all on video. Someday it'll be on YouTube, yes!
That's worth the applause, isn't it? Yeah, we're kind of running out of time.
Oh no!
But I really do want to ask you one final question. I mean, you're quite productive, and are there any upcoming productions that you would like to highlight for us Swedes?
Let's see, upcoming productions. Let's see, I have a lot of things in development that have been in development for a while. There's some ghost hunting shows that I'm trying. I want to make the ultimate ghost hunting show to end all ghost hunting shows called Haunted in Hollywood. And it's famous people looking for famous phantoms in famous places. That's one of them. Then there's my Stan Laurel documentary about when Stan Laurel went back to England in 1947. Let's see, I have an animation puppetry hybrid system, which is what you referred to earlier, called Qzimation, that I'm developing. Oh gosh, there's a whole long list of things. But, and then maybe a few more of these movies, these space-type films that I can't mention the name of, probably. But yes, keeping busy, which is good.
That's very good. And if you need more information, they have Mike Quinn's homepage. It's on Twitter.
Yes, my website's really old. I'm going to rebuild that. It's about 6 years old now, but there's always Facebook. Always find me there. Thank you.
Yeah, so we have to round up with a big warm applause for Mike Quinn. Come on.
Thank you for having me. It's really nice meeting everybody. I really appreciate it. My first time in Sweden, and everybody's been really nice, so thank you very much. Thank you.